Howdy everyone, welcome back to I Dream of Indie Games. My name's Ole Gamer Joe, and this show is all about the upcoming indie games we are excited for. This week we are covering October 23rd through the 29th of 2023 as spooky Halloween season sadly comes to a close. You know what else is spooky? If you haven't checked out our Patreon page over at patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, gain Discord access, exclusive live streams, podcasts, and so much more. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Up next we have 3 minutes to 8 according to my watch, which is a narrative adventure, very story rich, looks like a lot of drama in this one, traveling all over the place. Basically, the premise of this sounds really cool. At 7:57, you're gonna die! The pixel art looks pretty cool, the premise is certainly interesting, we'll just have to see how it all plays and comes together when it releases very soon. It's time to get in the zone! No, not the auto zone, the fatal zone! We're seeing more and more of these Vampire Survivors type games come up, so yes, this is yet another auto shooter, but I can't get enough of them myself. They are extremely addicting. It's so simple. Why did we not think of this style of game sooner, developers, huh? Well, someone got really rich from it, and hopefully more people are getting rich. This one will also include some RPG elements, and yes, it's that R word, roguelike elements. This one's also going to be early access, so do be aware of that. Don't expect a final build or anything, but there should still be plenty of content to keep you busy in the meantime. Just expect a few bugs that might need to be squished, along with those zombies. Next up, for all you Cities Sim fans out there, we have Cities Skylines 2. Yes, Cities Skylines 2. I totally didn't say skitty, city, shitty. I totally didn't say city on the last take, I promise you. You know if you're into this genre or not, folks, it's not my thing, but it looks like there's a ton to do with this game. You know the deal here, build the roads, build the buildings, build, run the economy, do all of the shit that you never actually wanted to do in real life in a video game, because that's fun, right? I know it is for some of you, just not me. But I wanted to include it anyways because I love you all, gamers alike, regardless of what genres you enjoy.
That's what she said.
Some of you just have a little bit of an enjoyment for playing God, that's all. Here we go next, moving right along with Dark Envoy. For some reason I kept saying Envoy. Silent Signs had to yell at me. My grammar sucks sometimes, and I don't want to see the pronunciation guy down there either. Dark Envoy. I got it, okay? This is a tactical RPG, and you can play with friends online. Can't beat that. You play as a variety of different relic hunters trying to take down forces of evil using magical abilities.
Ooh, magical abilities, spells, sorcery.
The developers are saying this one is extremely customizable, so you'll have plenty to play around with. You'll be in the sandbox. Ooh, the sandbox. You can look forward to grabbing some friends and playing this one on the 24th, and it's not in early access. Next up, we have a first-person shooter, RIPOUT. Oh, Silent Signs is gonna love animating this bleeding heart in. The game is early access, but features all of the fast-paced first-person action you could ask for. Plenty of violence, weird demon creatures, and blood and gore abound. The game can also be enjoyed in co-op because playing with friends is always fun. Just don't let this one tear you apart! Motherfucker! If you like procedurally generated levels in your first-person shooters, well, this might be the game for you. There is also scalable difficulty, so if you need to wuss out or it's too tough, you can lower it down and be a little bitch. Just like me. You know, my dad used to say to me, he was a real jerk sometimes, he would say, why don't you cry about it? Well, maybe I will with CRYMACHINA releasing from NIS America. It's not my birthday, but I'll still cry if I want to in this anime-based RPG. Looks like plenty of drama, just as you would expect out of a game with that anime style from NIS America. You will travel between Eden and the Imitation Garden. I actually like some imitation foods, like imitation crab.
Oh, bummer, bro.
I think you can kind of figure out what this one's going to be like based off of the trailer. Hopefully the action feels pretty good, and the storytelling impresses. We'll just have to see though. Next up, I'm on the case in Scene Investigator. Have you ever wanted to take on crime scenes? Did you go to school for this detective work, but you didn't quite get the gig? Well, here's your chance, because there is crime abound and you'll need to solve the mystery piece by piece. You'll have to carefully investigate every little piece of evidence if you're gonna crack the case and become the ultimate chief. Or is it a chief if you succeed at this? I don't know. The Ultimate Detective? Sleuth? Gumshoe? Did any of you watch Carmen Sandiego growing up? Who remembers Rockapella? Comment below. I couldn't even attempt to try to sound like them, so I'm not going to. Ah, what the hell, I will. Next is the game I'm looking forward to the most this week. Can't wait to get my hands on this one because I love third-person horror games. Stray Souls. The game takes place in Aspen Falls, and it really almost has that too realistic look to it, where the characters look kind of creepy real. Like, remember Until Dawn? Or even As Dusk Falls. Kind of reminds me of that art style, but if the mechanics feel good, if the story is kind of interesting, if it's spooky, I'm all on board with this one. It looks like the game will have puzzles as well, and a good variety of creatures to tackle or blast in the face and fucking kill. I'll never kick a third-person horror game out of bed, so add this one to your wish list if you're into it too. And perfect timing with Halloween. Finally, someone took advantage of that in the indie scene. Gosh. Up next is probably the most anticipated release this week, and I gotta be real with you, I never played the original, but this is Ghostrunner 2, which takes place kind of in this cyberpunk setting. It's first-person, frantic action. You play as a cyber ninja, which I assume means you get to use a lot of cool swords and maybe slice a head off or two. In fact, according to the Steam description anyways, slashing is really the name of the game here. It's not so much about the guns. The game will have plenty of accessibility options, so if you aren't great at these kind of games but you still enjoy playing them, that's good news for you. Also, I just gotta say the name Ghostrunner is pretty cool. Actually, our very own Barely Magic Mike gave me a key for the original that he just had hanging around, so I'll probably play that before this sequel, but I know a lot of you are anticipating this one. Let me know in the comments below, did you play the original Ghostrunner? Let's keep this list rolling. That's my little tribute to Fred Durst today. I love you, Fred. Are you watching this, Freddy? This next one kinda sounds like a Christmas Carol or something. Dragonheir Silent Gods. If you're into fantasy, which probably a lot of you are, I have fantasies of my own. Oh, you don't look in that head of mine. If you like tabletop games, this also has a little bit of that DNA in it as well. There is magic abound, there are dragons flying everywhere, there is all sorts of mysticism awaiting players. So roll the dice and have some fun with friends, because this one has PvP online co-op. One thing that caught my attention when I was watching this trailer is the enemy design. It is really freaking cool. I'm looking forward to taking down some giant dragons when this one launches very soon. Next up is another horror game, surprise, towards the end of October here, The Devourer, Hunted Souls. Not haunted, Hunted Souls. You and up to 4 other friends can take on this one together. You'll be investigating spooky scenes, uncovering ghosts and other strange entities. The really cool thing here is that regardless of which investigator you're using, they're all going to play a little bit differently. And just like the police nowadays, everyone's gotta wear a body cam. Here's another twist. When you die, just like in real life, you have to enter another realm and try to escape so you come back. Actually, don't listen to that. That's probably not how that works. Motherfucker! Next up is one for you Blair Witch fans out there. There was a Blair Witch game, but it actually wasn't very good, unfortunately. Here, I'm going to announce the name of this game without actually saying the title. See if you can figure it out. Ah! Oh, wait. It's Don't Scream. I screamed. I totally screwed this up. Don't scream. Your microphone is required for this one so that the FBI can listen to your every move. This one's going to be in early access as well, as many of the games on this list have been so far, but it looks really cool. I actually like these games that take advantage of the microphone, though they're really kind of crazy on streams because it's hard to interact with an audience and keep your room quiet at the same time. Maybe not that interesting, but at the same time, kind of interesting, if that makes sense, because you're watching someone try to be quiet. I like the found footage style. I've always been a fan of the Blair Witch and movies that use that technique, even going back to Paranormal Activity and stuff like that. Next up, and the one on this list that wins the award for coolest art style, I would say, is Castle of Illusions.
You totally blew it!
Next up on this list is Castle of Secrets, which has a really stunning art direction. It kind of reminds me of the Addams Family or something like that, but with a serious tone. It sort of seems to have point-and-click elements, almost feels like a pop-up book come to life. This is one of those horror games that will really get in your head. It's psychological, so if that's not your thing, be warned. But for everyone else that really enjoys having their minds screwed with, I think this game will be really cool if the gameplay lives up to the graphical style and the narrative. In fact, it would seem that players are going to be a big part of that narrative because your choices will matter and change the story entirely. Last but not least, we have a JRPG in the traditional style for you fans of the genre like myself, Princess of Zeven. This has a pretty standard fare looking art direction to it. In fact, fairly generic looking title, but there's nothing wrong with that. I like JRPGs even when they're pretty traditional. They don't necessarily always have to do all that much new if the story can be compelling, which this trailer was actually in Japanese, so it was kind of hard to tell, but there were English captions. One thing about this game, though, is that it's going to have randomly generated dungeons, so they won't be the same thing every time you enter. That's kind of unfortunate for me. I don't necessarily like random generation in games. All told, you probably know if you're on board with this one or not, and that will do it for this week, folks. Those are the upcoming indie games that we were looking forward to, but let us know in the comments below if we missed anything, if there's any other games that you're looking forward to. Please go ahead and yell at me down below. As always, thank you so much for supporting independent content like this right here at I Dream of Indie Games. Keep it locked to the channel. If you haven't noticed, we've had a ton of indie game reviews for the last few months, actually the last really 4 years since we've been doing this. We really appreciate you all. We can't possibly make this content without you. Patreon.com/IDreamOfIndieGames. Bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming, and I'll see you on the channel for more great indie gaming goodness.